Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Brian's Horror Corner, and welcome to this horror movie review as part of my 31 Horror Movies in May series. Today, we're going to take a look at a film that is one of the first films I actually purchased once I really got into horror a couple years ago, but it's actually the first time I've watched it. I'm not really sure why, but because we're getting into summer here, it's Memorial Day weekend, and we're getting close to that time of the year for this. I decided to watch, and I'm going to review Tobe Hooper's The Funhouse from 1981. So yeah, I hadn't seen this film before I watched it for this review. So let's just go ahead and get into it. First of all, I'm gonna crack a beer here for this review. Chars. Hmm. Yeah. So let's just go ahead and get into it with the setup, the premise, and the cast, and then I'll get into my thoughts and review, which will be spoiler free. So The Funhouse, also released as Carnival of Terror, is a 1981 American teen slasher film directed by Tobe Hooper, written by Larry Block. The film's plot concerns four teenagers who become trapped in a dark ride at the local carnival in Iowa and are stalked by a deformed monster serial killer inside. So that's the gist of it. So the film opens, a masked intruder attacks teenager Amy as she showers, which resembles the opening scene of Halloween and the shower scene from Psycho. The attacker turns out to be her younger brother, Joey, a horror film fan, and his weapon is a fake rubber prop knife. Against her father's wishes, Amy visits a sleazy traveling carnival with her new boyfriend, Buzz, and her best friend, Liz, and Liz's irresponsible boyfriend, Richie. At the carnival, the 14 smoke marijuana, peep into a 21 and over strip show, heckle a fortune teller, Madame Zena, visit the Freaks of Nature exhibits, and view a magic show. Richie dares the group to spend the night in the funhouse, which is actually a dark ride. After the park closes, the teenagers settle down inside the funhouse, at which point they witness the ride assistant, a silent man in a Frankenstein's monster mask, engage Xena as a prostitute. He experiences premature ejaculation, but despite his request, Xena will not return his $100 fee. Or Xena will not return her $100 fee. He murders her in a violent rage. So yeah, that's kind of the setup and the premise for this movie. Cast wise, we have Elizabeth Barrage as Amy Harper, Cooper Huckabee as Buzz, Largo Woodruff as Liz Duncan, Miles Chapin as Richie, Kevin Conway as Freak Show Barker, and Wayne Doba as Gunther Twybunt, the monster. Boy, I actually got through all the names without butchering them. That's the first time in a few videos. So yeah, that's the setup, the premise, and the cast for Tobe Hooper's 1981 movie, The Funhouse. Um, Overall, I really enjoyed this movie. It wasn't quite what I was expecting going into it. You know, when you own a movie for a year and a half before watching it, your expectations aren't necessarily high, but they might be different than what you actually get, and that's kind of what I got here. But I did enjoy it for the most part. So let's just go ahead and get into it, starting with what I liked about the movie, my pros. Um, I really liked, starting at the very beginning, I really liked the opening credits with the pictures of the various Funhouse animatronics and creepy dolls that they use as they're going through the opening credits. It immediately gets you in the mood and the atmosphere of what this movie's going to be. So I thought that was really effective and served a pretty good purpose. I love the homages to Halloween and Psycho that they used to start this movie. Tobe Hooper is obviously a big fan of both of those movies, and I thought it was a fun way to start the movie and kind of threw off audiences' expectations because when you watch it for the first time, you think that this young teenage girl is going to get murdered in the shower, and as an homage, but it kind of throws you off a little bit. But I really enjoyed that. I thought it was a fun way to open the movie. I think this is a very well directed movie by Tobe Hooper. Maybe not quite to the level of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but given the atmosphere, the lighting, the camera work of the movie, it's really fun and effectively executed story that I thought was well directed. And so I give Tobe Hooper a lot of props for this movie. I really enjoyed the last act of the movie. It was really fun and completely off the chain crazy, the last 30 minutes or so. Really suspenseful and atmospheric with all the funhouse props and effects that are used. they really took advantage of where these teenagers were trapped, where they were. They didn't just have them walking around. They made sure that you knew they were in a fun house, and they didn't let any side gags or characters sort of not get used. Um, the reveal of the main antagonist, the villain, the monster, if you will, in this movie, I thought was really effective. Great makeup effects and creature look, effectively creepy to kind of let you know that, oh man, these guys are in some trouble here because, well, this monster's portrayed to be a human. He wears a Frankenstein mask for most of the movie until it's revealed. Um, I just thought it, especially for 1981, it was a very effective look and reveal that really ratcheted up the tension in this movie. Obviously, I really like the setting and production design with the carnival and the fun house. It has a really creepy and effective ambiance to it. Really effective ambience. If you know me, you know that I'm a big fan of horror movies that take place, whether it be like a Horror Nights, something like Hellfest, which is a movie that I reviewed last year, or just that carnival, sort of a carnival atmosphere with fun houses. To me, there's a certain creepiness or horror to like a traveling carnival or traveling circus, just in general, without really getting any story or plot from it. And so I felt like Tobe Hooper did a really good job of utilizing that to the utmost in terms of the overall carnival atmosphere, and then as it relates in the second half of this movie, specifically to this fun house, which is really more of it's a fun house, it's a dark like fun house ride where you go in a little cart and it drives you through this fun house area, which I've done those before when I was younger, not so much now, of course, but they can be very creepy just on the surface without obviously a real killer inside of them. So yeah, I just really that it kind of the movie kind of gets me right off the bat with just the idea of the carnival and everything, and then the funhouse and horror aspect to it. So really good production design. They really did a good job with the funhouse itself, and the carnival itself as well. I enjoyed the score and the musical cues used throughout the movie. I thought they were really creepy and effective and added to the overall carnival atmosphere and as well as the horror atmosphere. And then piggybacking on that, the sound design as well in this movie with like the thunder going on in the fun house and stuff and some of the different sound effects that they use just really adds to the overall atmosphere of this movie. And that's one of the biggest positives with this movie is there's a Tobe Hooper has a very atmosphere style with this movie, as he did with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Um, but yeah, just there's no wasted space, no wasted atmosphere with this movie. I think Amy, played by Elizabeth Barrage, is a pretty decent final girl, kind of on par with Sally from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I would say maybe not quite there, but I thought she did a good job. Elizabeth Barrage, who I think probably did the best job of the main characters as far as actors and actresses go. Um, Not to mention she looks pretty good at the beginning of the film. There's a certain with that homage scene there, but we won't get into that. I believed her character though, and the journey that her character goes on throughout the movie to the very end, where she's kind of just wandering aimlessly out of this amusement park. You can really feel the hell that she went through, and then sort of the weight of it. And I thought she did a really good job portraying that through the characters. So and then ultimately good cinematography, which really also helps to add to the overall atmosphere of this movie. It's a good looking, well shot movie, which again, credit to Tobe Hooper with that atmospheric, tension building overall theme to this movie that we get here. So, yeah, definitely a lot of pros with the Funhouse. Really enjoyed the atmosphere, um, as well as some of the effects and the reveal of the monsters. So, I do have some cons and some problems with this movie. It is kind of a slow burn horror movie, and you've heard other people say that too. And I like the first 10 minutes and the last 30 to 40 minutes of the movie. And then there's about 30 to 40 minutes in between there where we're introduced to the characters, and they do a lot of walking around in carnival, like going on rides and partaking in different side shows throughout the carnival. There's a fortune teller. There's sort of a peep show thing that they get view of that they're not supposed to be because it's for 21 and older. Um, And I think some people have more of a problem with that than I do, just because, like I said, I like the carnival atmosphere in general, even horror movie aside. The reason I bring it up because as a horror movie, there's like 30 or 40 minutes where there's not a lot of horror happening. It's more, I guess, if you want to say building tension, getting to know the characters and kind of their intentions and where they're coming from and stuff. That's fine. But I'm putting it as a con because I know a lot of people don't like slow burns, especially for when they're supposed to be slasher films. But there is about 35 or 40 minutes where not a lot happens in terms of the slasher elements of this movie. Like I said, it's the characters just sort of taking in the amusement attractions, and that worked for me okay because, like I said, I'm all about the traveling amusement parks and the, sort of all that atmosphere and sort of the sideshows and games and everything that go along with it. So, but that just be wary of that or be aware of it. The main characters are pretty stock, kind of cliche, as we've come to expect through especially through the early '80s. Um, you have the tough jock kind of guy, which is Amy's boyfriend, apparently, the guy that she's interested in. You have the more fun, easier female friend of hers, which you can tell she's been around the block a little bit more than Amy. Amy herself is sort of the virgin character, and they make sure to let you know that the innocent one. There's marijuana smoking. I mean, it's just very typical in terms of a slasher movie, especially during this time. Another problem is the kills are mostly off screen. There's really no blood or gore. The censors really screwed that up for this movie because I think, well, I'm not a big gore. I'm not somebody that necessarily needs a lot of gore for an effective horror movie. This is one of those movies where I think it really would have benefited the movie. And unfortunately, the MPAA, or actually, I don't know if it was the MPAA in '81, if that even existed, but the censors really hacked that all to hell. And I think it makes for a less effective movie than it could have been. It's still an enjoyable movie, but I think it could have been even better if you'd been able to see some on-screen kills there and a little bit of gore as well. You have the typical bad character decision making from deciding on a whim to spend the night and basically trespass into this fun house, all the way to one of the characters that aren't the brightest or the sharpest knife in the drawer to stealing money. It's typical, kind of like the cliche characters I was talking about. Also, the cliche decisions that these characters make to help move the plot and the story forward. And then my final con is I really didn't understand the point to the subplot with the younger brother who was kind of he sneaks out to this amusement park and is kind of watching the fun house that they go into, his sister goes into, but he never really does anything. He ends up getting caught and passes out, and his parents come and pick him up. And I don't know if that was supposed to be sort of another part of the tension building, the fact that his sister was in there and her parents didn't have any idea, but he couldn't speak because he was kind of out of it. I don't know. It just didn't really work. It didn't seem to really have a point to the movie at all, especially in terms of playing in or connecting to the main story of this movie. So that's all I've got for cons. Overall, guys, I really did enjoy this movie, and I'm kind of debating whether or not I want to get a Blu-ray copy of this. By the way, the tagline for this movie is "Pay to get in, pray to get out," which I do like that tagline. Um, but yeah, I'm kind of on the fence about whether to get the Blu-ray. I probably will at some point. I'd like to watch this again. This is just the standard widescreen DVD. There's really no special features with it other than the theatrical trailer and the scenes, which is typical with any DVD. But there's really no behind the scenes kind of stuff. So at some point, I probably will get a collector's edition or a Blu-ray of this if one exists, which I'm sure it does. In fact, I know it does. Um, but I'll probably give it another watch before then. If I can find it for a good price, I'll definitely get one. But overall, I enjoyed the Funhouse because of the directing, because of the atmosphere, the final girl, the reveal. There was enough there, the homages at the beginning and the opening credits. There's enough there for me to rewatch this again and to put it on. There's some disappointments as well, especially as it relates to the kills and the gore and some of the story subplots. But overall, I enjoyed it. I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10 as far as my rating goes. Definitely check out the Funhouse. It's one of Tobe Hooper's better movies. I don't think it's quite on par with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but still a really fun movie, especially to watch this time of the year through the fall with sort of the carnival and fair atmosphere going on throughout the country. So I would recommend checking out the Funhouse from 1981. 8 out of 10. Go ahead and comment down below, guys, if you've seen the Funhouse, what you think of it. Do you like it? Pros and cons as you see them. Please like this video and hit the little notification bell down below so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos for this series, the rest of this series. And please make sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my great horror content that I have coming up throughout the rest of the year and beyond. So thank you for watching this movie. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day. Stay scared. Bye.